Jacqueline left the house early on Monday morning before Aidan had made his way downstairs. Aidan had said no, she shouldn't move in to be with him, but she waved him off and brought her things over in preparation for his surgery and treatment. No hired aide would be good enough for her son. She would nurse him herself. She had no official training to do this, but learned enough on the job while caring for her daughter years ago. She knew from Aidan that Jason and his crew got into the studio early in the morning, long before their cast, to prepare for the day. She also knew from Aidan that his agent was taking care of the details with the studio, but she couldn't contain her mama bear instincts. Carefully swiping the ID badge she had surreptitiously taken off of Aidan's bureau while he napped and breezing into the studio offices, Jacqueline took over the suite as if she worked there. "Where is Jason Armisen?" she barked at the receptionist. "Do you have an appointment?" the receptionist asked, drumming the nails of his California-tanned left hand on the desk, bulky silver bracelet banging along. He had a pencil tucked on top of his ear under his considerable head of white blonde hair. "Mr. Armisen does not see anyone without an appointment." Not deterred, Jacqueline calmed her voice and said, "He'll see me. My son is the star of Mr. Armisen's show, Postgame." She stressed the name of the program as if somehow the receptionist might not have heard of it. "Which star?" the receptionist asked testily. "There are several." Frustrated and not in the mood for banter, Jacqueline murmured, "For the love of God, Aidan Sheridan," as she thwarted the rules, walked behind the desk and directly into Jason's office without even knocking. The receptionist had the last laugh, though, as the room was empty. Jason was huddled in the conference room, continuing the conversation from Friday with Kate and Chip. They had thrown ideas around all weekend with no solutions. Jason wanted to put the show on hiatus until Aidan was healthy. Chip was predictably concerned with ad revenue and other fiduciary details for the production of the show and felt that the audience would be lost if they put another show in its place for too long. His idea was to sell the show to another cable channel or perhaps a network to be picked up when he was back. And Kate, the head writer, said none of it mattered until they knew when or even if Aidan would be back. The show was written around his character. There couldn't be a show without him, and no amount of rewrites could fix that. Without Aidan, there was no Postgame. Jason and Chip ultimately admitted she was right. After not finding the director in his office, Jacqueline stormed down the hallway until she saw people in the glass-walled conference room. All heads and eyes turned toward the door as it opened abruptly. Jacqueline stood in the doorway, not a hair out of place, on the morning she was fighting for her son's professional life, and despite the fact that this was Aidan's agent's job, not hers. "Excuse me, I need to talk with all of you." No declaration of her identity was offered. She had something to say and would say it boldly and without invitation. "My son is the star of this show, and I need to know that you will not be sharing his personal information with the world." "Now excuse me," Jason said politely, "but who are you and how did you get in here?" "Oh, please," was the minimalist response. Chip approached the doorway. "Who is your son?" "Aidan Sheridan, obviously." "Ah," Kate chimed in. "We were very sorry to hear of his illness." "Thank you. I need to know that this will be kept quiet. For his sake and for the sake of the show. If he is to have any future as an actor, we don't need the world knowing that he is ill. It will hurt his chances for future roles." "Mrs. Sheridan," Jason said as he approached her, "we're very sorry about Aidan's illness and the effect this must be having on your family." "Raymond." "What?" "Raymond. Jacqueline Raymond. My name is not Sheridan." "Sorry. We have no intention of telling anyone. You were right. It does no one any good. But you know how the paparazzi is. There's no telling who will pick up the story and how far it will go from there. We will not be releasing a story about Aidan without his say-so." "I hope I can trust you on that," Jacqueline warned, red fingernail pointing in his face. "Mrs. Raymond, you can trust us, but Aidan should be talking to his agent about containing the story if he really wants it kept quiet. We are not the ones to worry about. Right now we have a show to figure out, so if you'll please excuse us." Jason put his hand on Jacqueline's shoulder in an attempt to steer her toward the door. Jacqueline didn't resist, but she stopped short of the door and turned back around to face all three of them. "So help me, do not cross me. It will not be in your best interest." She turned on her heel and strode out the door, all business. Walking past the receptionist at a quick pace, she glanced over her shoulder and quietly said, "Thanks." Without waiting for a response, she was gone. Jacqueline stabbed at the emergency stopped button in the elevator with her perfectly manicured index finger. No one would hear her screaming in between floors.